Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's stream. Welcome Mike, Alex, Raphael, the other Alex, AJ, Vicky, and Jay. Thank you guys so much for joining today. So far, the market is relatively unchanged in pre-market. We saw a little bit of selling pressure right at open, but the main things to pay attention to this morning is LCID stock or Lucid is just getting demolished. Their share lockup expired, so now more people can sell their shares, and it's getting demolished right now. Also welcome Justin, Jorge, Mac, Mr. and Nye to the stream. Another thing is we have SKLZ really starting to pop off. This is like a short squeeze setup. There's no major catalyst with this one, but it's really running up there. And, as we saw over the past year and especially over the past couple weeks, these short squeeze setups really have like a lot of explosive potential.
Yeah, they do. And SKLZ actually looks really good this morning. Look at it moving up in pre-market and everything all the way up to $14. If we pass above $13.94 or above 14, it's going to be game on for SKLZ. And I really like the way it's touching this 100 SMA and getting itself right back to the upside. It's also holding that like 1350th support this morning too. So looks pretty decent here for like a play at open possibly if you do see some momentum come in. So definitely have it on the radar.
Good stuff. And then we have AJ right off the bat saying, morning guys, how are we feeling about AMD? So let's take a look at AMD. I know it's been doing so well over like the past year. AMD, in my opinion, is still like a little bit overbought. Like if you're like looking to like swing this for a couple weeks. But if you're just like looking at it for like a quick day trade or something, it's not bad. I don't know. I just don't see like that like great momentum out of it, at least right now. I mean, it's up less than 1% today, so maybe if we see a breakout, maybe it could be good. But I just feel like there's so many other stocks that actually have some really good momentum.
Yeah, and they did have a big rise up a few days ago, up to 114.50. So that would make me think that right now they're pretty far off their highs, and they're kind of right at this like 112-ish resistance as well. I think if we break above 112, it could definitely work out better. But I personally will wait for a move above that. And it looks like here now at open, look at this big candle on AMD, really volatile. And man, it looks like it might turn red here even.
We'll see. And then I don't know if you saw this one, Tom. Zoom is coming back a little bit, or at least they're trying.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that. Zoom had a really bad earnings, unfortunately. That was really bad to see. But they ended up going flat more throughout the regular trading day, which was nice. But I'm glad to see them kind of coming back today. Hopefully they can head back up and maybe retest $300. I think that would be a decent little recovery for them today so far. And then also, I know we talked about a couple stocks going down earlier. I just want to talk about NIO really fast. It's coming back a little bit, but man, this thing really tanked off in pre-market, back down to the downside. Hopefully we see another resurgence back up, but that was some pretty big news that we saw come out with NIO. They actually had to like delay a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because of the chip shortage. So, not good there. Apple and BABA are trending up pretty well so far. It looks like Apple is going for that all-time high. BABA's making a nice comeback. And then we have Alex saying Tesla is being investigated again and NIO slowdown due to chip shortage. Yeah, we definitely saw that NIO news. I saw that headline for Tesla. It looks like the stock's just relatively flat, at least right now. Then we have Vicky saying, good morning, and then asking about resistance and support for SKLZ. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, SKLZ, let's go check out the actual levels. I really like it, though, around that 1350 support is an intraday level, and we're kind of bouncing off of that right now, but looks like we might fall below it. It's actually at 1349, 1350 right now. So, but if we keep going down today, I think another lower support down here will be 1250. That seems like a pretty good bottom level for today. So definitely watch out for that. It had a lot of movement around there in pre-market today and after hours yesterday. But besides that, it's kind of hard to tell because we're just getting back up into some of these resistance areas, kind of like $15 at the top as a resistance. So I would say we're about $1.50 away on both sides from it.
And then what are you thinking with this SPRT action?
Yeah, support.com, unfortunately coming back down. I know me and you talked about this one a ton yesterday, Mike, and the setup looked like Newegg from a long time ago. And I'll tell you what, it looks pretty good to the downside to me, if you're asking me personally. I know a lot of people have been wanting this one to go up, but unfortunately, it's just been breaking support breaking that 30 support and moving down to the downside this morning. And it looks like at open, it had a pretty bad red candle again. So I'll definitely be eyeing it up for more movement down over the next few days. And just look at it on the daily. You can tell it's starting to really come back down to the downside now.
Alrighty. And then just to confirm with Vicky and SKLZ, I think she wanted it for a day trade. So like what like levels are you looking at like for like quick levels?
Yeah, the quick level I was talking about 1350 actually, and that was a pretty good level. It
Cool.
bounced right off of it and ended up going right back up. I would say if we break out above 14, that's a pretty good upper resistance as well. But the main one's 1350. I know I mentioned that one, and I would say if we break 1350 to the downside, then we could possibly go down to 13 or even 1250. And that's why I was targeting 1250. But we just now broke that high of day. So it could be a good entry if you want to get in for a good run. If we can break above 14, we only need like 2 or 3 cents more.
Good stuff. I like it. And then we have Jorge mentioning CRWD post earnings. So I saw this one and it's extremely flat. You know, it's only down 1%, and that is nothing for an earnings report.
Yeah, nothing at all. You know, earnings sometimes make the stocks fly like 5-10%, stuff like that. If it would have opened down here at the bottom, it would have looked a lot worse. But right now it's looking pretty good as it came back only down 1%. And we're honestly almost back to those levels that it closed at yesterday. So I'm glad to see the recovery happen, and it kind of like negated what happened with the earnings, which is good to see.
You know it. And then with the next question, we have Max saying, how do you guys feel about Apple today? Let's take a look. AAPL. Well, it broke all-time highs. It has momentum, so it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it really looks good, actually. I think it's really running, and man, that's like a big move, Mike, at open. It really ran to all-time highs today by quite a bit. Like, it didn't just have a small move at open today or anything by any means. It had a nice candle to the upside, and I'm glad it did. You know, the overall market's been just steadily stair-stepping itself to the upside, and I would expect as long as the SPY and the QQQ can keep holding their ground, I would think that Apple and these other stocks will keep going up. But at some point, you know, these stocks are going to come crashing down. It's just, it could take another month or two, but I would think it would happen sooner rather than later.
Alrighty. Then with the next comment, we have Keisha saying, let's go Amazon. Been in it since Friday. There we go. I saw it had an amazing recovery, so it's awesome to see there. I'm just doing a quick scan on the market. Looks like Zoom's having a pretty good day. I know we talked about it a couple minutes ago, but it is now up to 297. And Tom, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but Kathy Wood actually bought the dip on Zoom.
She did, like just now?
Well, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. That's really good news. Yeah, anytime Kathy's buying in, that's awesome. And I know that Zoom should be pretty good down here at these lower levels, and I would honestly only expect it to stay here for a little while. So that's great to see that Kathy's buying it, and I would think that that would drive in a lot more buyers as well. It seems usually whenever she comes in and buys it and the news comes out, generally the stock ends up going up for the next few days as all these investors kind of hop in. That doesn't mean it's going to necessarily go up for the next month like we would more of expect, but you know, sometimes like whenever she gets in a little early, so keep that in mind as well. She could be averaging in, so there could be lots of other stuff going on there, but I like the position, and I honestly think it's a good time to grab shares here, like with Kathy Wood, especially if you're just going to average in maybe half your position or maybe a quarter.
All right. And then what are you thinking with Boeing? I think it looks pretty good right now. I love the trend.
Me too. It's on that bottom blue trend line still failing to break back below there, sitting right at that 220 support. It honestly looks pretty good, Mike, and I love Boeing for the long term, so I really like it right now for a pickup. It's kind of like Zoom for me. You know, we're averaging in right now. I wouldn't necessarily go all in right here, but I would definitely look at averaging in maybe a quarter or half of the position. And I really like the way it's setting up, though. It's holding that longer term trend very, very well and just failing to break below, which is awesome. You know, whenever that happens, usually the stocks end up flying up. So hopefully we can keep holding this. And if we do, you know, it'll be great for Boeing, I think, over the next few months.
And then another one I was looking at was Plug. You know, this one's starting to break out.
Yeah, we've been watching Plug and CHPT, BLNK for the past few days, and they're looking pretty solid. You know, Plug yesterday ended up having a little bit of a move to the downside at the end of the day, but at the beginning of the day yesterday, it had a huge green candle, kind of like what we're seeing now, but today we're finally breaking out of this little range. There was an upper resistance around like 26.85, and we're finally moving up above that into the 27s, which is, I think, really good for plug. And I think we might get a little bit of a pop over the next day or two since we're finally breaking out of this small range.
Good stuff. All right, I'm just looking through the Discord real quick to see what everyone's talking about. Lots of action with SKLZ. I think this is on a lot of people's radar so far this morning, and I'm not surprised. When you see movement like that at open and in pre-market, it's definitely going to have a lot of people eyeing it up. One thing to watch, though, look how much that IV popped. Look at the bottom right there, that blue line. That shows options are getting pretty expensive. And, guys, this is a $13 stock, so instead of paying, let's say, for example, let's say we go to like the October 15th expiration. Instead of paying, $150 to have the right to buy SKLZ at $15 a share in a month from now, you can just buy shares right now at $13.30. So what I'm trying to say is, in situations where IV is high, it could be better for your portfolio to just buy shares instead of, these overpriced options.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And especially whenever the IV is going up, that's going to be the main thing you're looking at, though, Mike, right? Is mainly just the IV being up so much is going to be the main factor behind there. So really watch it.
For sure. And then, a perfect example, Tom, is let's say we look at SPRT, right? We look at SPRT. This stock tanked, over, the past couple days, you can say. And let's say I go to, the 30 strike puts, which are now in the money on this stock. The stock tanked from, let's see. Yeah, so this is crazy. So let me just get the exact number just so I could be accurate. Okay, so on August 30th, the stock was at $37. Right now, it's at 27 or 28, right? That's a huge move for percentage-wise for the stock. The same put options, the 30 strike puts, are at the same exact price as they were when the stock was at 37. So it just goes to show you, you can be 100% right on the direction, but if you're paying if you're paying too much of a premium for the options, you're going to be screwed. So be careful about that. We have AJ saying, how are you feeling about Fubo? I like it. I think it's trending very well.
Yeah, me too. That's a great move. It opened today. It's heading up towards $30, and I'm really glad to see it breaking out of $29.50. That looks like a really good break today, actually, and it's holding its ground very well. I actually really like this one. Thanks for bringing it up.
Good stuff. And then, Tom, how about this Disney action? It's trending. I like it.
Yeah, do you think the deal with DraftKings is going through, or do you think some insiders are maybe betting on it right now? Because, man, it's running up, and man, I know that news is definitely set to come out pretty soon. Maybe not today, but sometime over the next week or two. And man, it's just it's definitely going to be interesting to hear what ends up happening. And it'll be a deal between Disney and DraftKings, Disney's ESPN and then DraftKings, but it'll end up affecting Disney. And I think it will end up making Disney go up because, man, they've been going up the past few days in anticipation of this.
Yeah, so it's not 100% going to be with DraftKings. Disney was exploring. Technically, they were talking with DraftKings and Caesars Entertainment. So DraftKings and CZR are kind of competing against each other. So I'm personally hoping it goes to ends up falling with DraftKings. But either way, whether it's Caesars, DraftKings, or even a different company, it's going to be huge for Disney. They're getting into a great market, and this is not a small deal by any means. It's supposed to be $3 billion.
Yeah, it's not. And actually, Caesars owns William Hill, which is a huge sports book. So yeah, that's a pretty big deal. I would think though that they would go with DraftKings, just given DraftKings exposure and everything to the market right now. I think it'd be a little smarter for Disney to go with DraftKings. So that's who I think that they would go with too. And I definitely hope they do, because I know that me and you are definitely biased towards DraftKings.
Oh, yeah.
DraftKings is it's one of our favorite stocks, guys. And I know if you guys are regular listeners, you'll definitely hear us talking about DraftKings quite a bit. But, I will be honest, though, Mike, right now, DraftKings is slightly high. It's in the middle of its range at $60. I think it's good for shares now. But, I wish that, if you were going to buy shares now, I wish you were buying shares back at whenever it was at 50 or 45 just a couple weeks ago.
Yep, for sure. And then I wanted to take a look at BABA. These China stocks are coming right back up.
Are they? Let's see. I know yesterday I was looking at them at the end of the day. Wow, Baba had a nice gap up. That move in pre-market was nice, touching the 100 SMA on some of those candles that extended down there. Yeah, that's a great move today. It opened, filled those gaps, and even broke that 170 resistance. I mean, man, that's a really strong move that we're seeing actually.
Good stuff. And then, like, what are you thinking with Baba? Like, I know it's a very unique stock right now, but what are your thoughts?
Personally, if I was going to play Baba right now, I'm not because I just don't trust the Chinese stocks anymore. But if I was, I think it's a great time to buy. I know all the news has happened and everything. It's just, the China stocks just aren't for me. But the main thing is that they're pretty low. I'll be honest, if you're just going to average in and maybe start with a quarter or a half of your position again, I think it'd be really smart to buy some Baba right here at 170. Obviously I wish we would have bought at 160 or 155 over the past or over the past couple weeks. But overall, I think Baba will end up going back up for the long term. I don't think any of these Chinese stocks or anything will get delisted. Keep in mind, if that happens, the tensions with China are going to get very strong. And, it's not like, it's not like we transitioned into everything being made in the US or anything. Like, there's still tons of stuff, the majority of stuff is still made in China for sure. So still keep that in mind. If anything bad happens and they shut off production or anything, the United States is going to have a lot of issues. So I don't think that we're going to get in too big of a feud. I don't think that we'll end up delisting stocks like Baba. So I think it's decent. That's a decent time to average in.
And then check out BB, Tom. This one's running up.
Yeah, BlackBerry. Look at that. That's a nice move off of those AMC moves that we were seeing yesterday. And man, BlackBerry all the way up to $12. Not sure if it's going to be able to break that resistance or not today, but overall, great moves out of them. And look at that daily chart, Mike. They've been straight up ever since $10.
Here we go. And then we have Max saying, I actually just made 100% in 3 minutes and took profits on Apple. I would usually never, but that reckless, but I felt good in pre-market. Well, there we go. And JW said, I love Mike and Tom for the long term. Thank you so much for that. And then we have AJ saying, woo, swung SDC from yesterday, and it's running. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's looking pretty good, Tom, up like 2.5%.
It does actually. It's holding these 100 SMAs, or the 100, the 200, and the 300 right here on the 5-minute chart. That's usually a pretty decent sign whenever it bounces off of those types of levels by open. Hopefully we can keep going up. It does look pretty good. And look at it on the daily. The daily doesn't look the best, but the good news is that it's been falling and it's kind of around support, which is good to see. But, I don't think looking at the daily, I would buy it and hold it for too long, but I think it could definitely be a good, quick trade, maybe for 1 or 2 days.
Alrighty. And then we have H saying, what do you think about SKLZ today? Where do you think it's heading? Let's take a look. SKLZ, well, it looks like relatively speaking, it looks like it's in the earlier stages of a short squeeze setup. However, only God knows what's going to happen today. This is one of the most volatile stocks on the market. However, I like the setup for shares. I'm not a huge fan of buying calls right now. I like the setup for shares. It is risky, but I like the risk-reward ratio. Let's say you just got in at 13. Let's say your stop loss was at let's say at $11 or so, and your profit target was at 17 or 18. It's a good setup. It is risky though.
Yeah, it's going to be really risky. That's just the main thing. Anytime you're getting into a stock like this that's had these types of moves to the upside, you have to also just expect sometimes a move down. So we hit 1398 and then had a big red candle. So maybe just expect a little bit more downwards movement. I have a big support down here around 1250. So hopefully we can hold that if we end up breaking through 13.
And then we have Vicky coming in saying, hit the like, people. Let's go. So if you guys like the stream, definitely hit that like button. It really, really helps us out. And then we have Keisha saying, nice move in CPB. Yeah, I was actually reading CNBC this morning, and I saw they were running up a little bit on earnings, so that's good to see. Alex saying Neo's recovering a bit. I'm surprised with this recovery, Tom. It's up. It's not up 3%. Now it's only down 3%, but lots of buyers coming in right at open, which is perfect.
Yeah, that was a good little recovery that NIO had today, and it came right up to some of these resistance levels. 38.30 was a pretty big one from a couple days ago. So I'm not surprised to see it kind of coming back down off of that, but hopefully this recovery keeps going up for the next couple days. I think that'll be a pretty good way to go. And like I said, 38.30 had a pretty big resistance right there. So watch out for that. We did just bounce off of there. I would definitely look out for that later on. If we cannot break up above there, then we might get more moves to the downside.
All right. And then we have Keisha asking about Netflix and then Tesla, and then specifically some resistances on Tesla.
Yeah, let's see Tesla TSLA. I mean, I love it. It's up above 738, heading up towards 740, and ever since it passed above 700 a few days ago, it's looked so good. Like it's honestly just had stair steps steadily to the upside. Yesterday was a little bit of a consolidation day for Tesla. Just kind of hit that 740 resistance and kind of went flat. But I will say today it looks a lot better. There's a lot of momentum here at open, and it definitely looks like we're going to be coming up to 740, possibly testing that or moving back above there. Because, man, it honestly looks like a good setup. And look at them on the daily. It's breaking up above 700, and it's really starting to break out now.
Good stuff. And then what are you thinking about Netflix?
NFLX, one of my favorites actually on the market right now, really moving up today. Only up 0.8%, but that's a pretty good move for Netflix, which, they don't necessarily just go flying day after day, but the setup on the daily looks really good for Netflix. I would expect them to maybe break out of this to all-time highs pretty soon. We're seeing stocks like Apple, Microsoft, lots of other stocks getting up to all-time highs right now, but Netflix and some of the other ones have just been lagging behind, and it's still kind of in that range that it's been in ever since last April and last July. So it's just been in this range for over one whole year, and I would expect with the market up that they would end up going up too. And it kind of reminds me of Amazon. We have AMZN kind of like in that same pattern, still in that old range, and it's also coming up pretty strong too.
Awesome. And then we have a lot of people talking about BBIG. It looks like they were just halted and they're really running up. So it looks like they're up 22%. Like I said, they're just coming off of that halt.
Whoa, yeah, it actually just broke that $10 resistance level from Monday, and it looks like we have $10.60 to look for next, Mike, for that all-time high here on BBIG. But this is a great run right now. There we go, up to 1073. It's really parabolic, man. This thing's running all the way up to like $11 over the past like 2 minutes. This is crazy to see. Man, BBIG might be getting the squeeze come into it, Mike. I mean, it's starting to go.
You know it. Then we have Vicky saying BABA is large caps, and the Chinese government announced last week they will not allow large caps to be listed in the U.S. Nothing to do with the SEC. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, and it's these China stocks are like we really just don't see setups like this, Tom. It's just very unique, and at the end of the day, they're at good levels, but there are a lot of very big risks that come along with investing into these stocks. So you have to be very careful with that. But let's talk more about BBIG. I know a lot of people are looking at it. It's trending up very well, and it looks like it's halted again.
Yeah, it is halted all the way up here at $11.19. Really good moves out of BBIG. That was just so parabolic to see this stock running like that again, and it is halted. So hopefully the momentum's still there after the halt, but man, nobody knows how it's going to end up. We're already up 37%. The move compared to the past couple days is amazing, and just look at it compared to pre-market on Monday. Like, man, it really ran up on Monday pre-market, and it's kind of doing the same thing right now. I'm wondering how high we can get, Mike. Like, we're at all-time highs now. It's just, actually, we're not. The all-time high looks like it was back there at 1163 a long time ago, but definitely eye it up though. Like, we're getting up towards there, and it's hard to say if it'll continue or not, but with the momentum right now, I would definitely think it can. And it does have a lot of short squeeze potential behind it.
Yeah, for sure. And like looking at it, like relatively speaking, like what was it? If we go back to SPRT, they went from like, you could say like $10. Well, no, they went from I guess you could say like $10 all the way up to $60 in a couple days. Now, I'm not saying BBIG is going to do that, but then you also look at NEGG and they exploded as well. So like, part of me, like for those who think for those who look at BBIG and want to like short it, like it's just tough, you know what I mean? Because some of these short squeezes just explode up. And another thing, even if you're bullish on BBIG, it'll probably be better for your portfolio to just get the shares, because IV is at 270%, And to put something into perspective real quick, so right now the stock is at $11. Let me just get the probabilities real quick. All right, so the stock's at $11 right now, and this is pretty crazy. The options market is expecting a 37% chance of this stock doubling in the next week and a half. That is crazy. Doubling in the next week and a half. That goes to show you how when IV pops up, these options get really expensive and it can get pretty hard to profit. Now, don't get me wrong. If the stock explodes up to $40, then yes, the options are going to explode. But just be careful with these high IV stocks.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to trade. And the main thing is right now, you're going to have to catch that momentum and time it really good, because if you mistime it a little bit and the stock comes down on you intraday, that's where that IV can also kill you, because it can even hurt you on day trades whenever it gets this high. So be really careful with it. But overall, it's a great setup right now. I love the momentum behind it. And if you can get in for a very quick trade, I think it might be a good way to go. But either way, it's going to be a really hard one to play right now, especially with the halts going on.
I mean, the momentum's there. People are hyped about it in Discord as well. So the momentum is definitely there. Tom, I know it's breaking out, but and it's halted, so there's not really much you can say. But what are you watching? What are we supposed to watch when it's breaking out like this?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really watch anything, unfortunately. It's just kind of like the way you just have to watch the 1 minute candles and kind of just watch the way the price action goes. And it's going to be really hard because look at how large these 1 minute candles are. You'll probably see it, whenever we finally open here, it'll probably do some crazy stuff where we see a big candle down to $10, and then it might have a big recovery back up to 11, and it'll probably go up and down for 15 to 30 seconds like that. But the main thing is just looking for that momentum. If we can see it go back up and break 11.19 again, we might finally see that momentum come back. So that'll be the main thing to look for, is if we can see the same type of candles that we were seeing on this, whenever it was going up from 9 to 11, if you see that same type of movement after this open right here, then I think that's the main thing to look for. I know that sounds really hard to say, but it takes a lot of experience to trade these types of setups. I know that price action is a pretty hard thing to teach people, but it's definitely something that's used pretty often by a lot of traders. I know it's Mike's favorite way to really analyze stocks, and that's the main thing to do whenever you have momentum plays. Is it's really all about the price action, and we're so far away from technicals and stuff that it's almost impossible to use any.
Alrighty, and then we have Williamson asking about UPST for a day trade. Let's take a look. UPST, this stock has just been running. IV's low, which is good. It means options are cheap. It's pulling back a little bit. To be completely honest with you, I was eyeing a put debit spread on this one for the next, maybe the next couple weeks or so. For a day trade to the upside, it doesn't look too great right now. There's more momentum to the downside. And, it's really not looking too bad, even for a little quick day trade to the downside.
Yeah, for sure. And BBIG is back, Mike, running again up to 11.80, going up towards $12 here. Not looking bad. And I mean, man, it still has momentum to it. And we're sitting all the way up here by $12. Now, we are getting close to that all-time high on that max daily chart there around 11.67. And we got really close to that, hit 11.90. And now we're seeing some pretty big red candles come in. So I'm wondering if that might be a top up there around that 11.60 to 11.90 area. I'll definitely be using that as my upper resistance now today, somewhere up there around $12. But man, that pullback off of there was pretty drastic, Mike. It moved down over $1.50 at the blink of an eye now and got halted again.
Well, Tom, check this out. So while BBIG is exploding, AMC and SPRT are kind of tanking down. So it appears that, when, I guess you can say Reddit traders or just, day traders in the market in general or hype stock traders, when they see a stock like BBIG popping, they'll sell off some of their AMC and SPRT and, shift it over to the current hype stock. It's just, an observation I made today, and it looks to be, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty apparent that that's what's going on, because generally that stuff like AMC will end up going up with those stocks. But with BBIG outperforming AMC by so much, I would not be surprised if people were doing that. And, I've heard of people doing that a few months ago to grab stuff like NEGG and some of the other stocks that we're running as well, like BlackBerry and, stuff like that. So I would not be surprised if that's what's going on right now. And it makes a lot of sense with that analogy there. So I like to see it. But man, BBIG halted again at $10.30. I'm just really curious if this is going to start to be the downtrend of it today, or if we will end up seeing more momentum come in, because like we're saying, a lot of people are looking at it right now. So I would hope that it could keep going up, kind of like AMC did for a few days.
Alrighty. Neo's having a pretty good recovery. I don't want to jinx it, but it's looking good.
Yeah, NIO's not looking bad today. I mean, it's coming right back up. It's holding that $38 support level today, and it's actually doing pretty good. So as long as it keeps moving like this, I'll be pretty happy with it. And, that move down really was not good to see. NIO reported that they were going to have some slowdowns with production due to chip shortages and stuff like that. It was also reported that some other companies like Tesla and possibly XPNG or XPENG, Xpeng, they're going to end up having problems too with chip shortages. So it's just, it seems like those chip shortages are causing some problems with a lot of companies right now. I know Ford has had some problems with chip shortages as well, and that's really been sending them to the downside. Same thing with GM. They've also reported chip shortages, and it's caused them to delay trucks and stuff like that. So just bad news with all this chip shortage stuff going on. And, it took a while for the chip shortage to affect the market, because we've been hearing about it ever since COVID, I feel like, Mike. Like we haven't been able to buy certain electronics and everything's out of stock and stuff like that. And you would just think that at some point over the next year it would turn around, but we've already been hearing about this for about a year now, and the stocks were going straight up. So I'm glad that it finally affected them and made them fall a little bit, but it just doesn't make much sense. It took like 6 months to a year for them to finally fall off the news.
All right, then we have Sean saying FUV daily looks pretty good for a swing. Thoughts? I like it. IV is 134%, so I think it'd definitely be best to get shares instead of calls. But I think it looks pretty good. It's at a good level. It kind of reminds me of Workhorse, actually, or I should say Donkey Horse.
Yeah, Donkey Horse. Sean, is this Cornish?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go, Sean. It is your Donkey Horse right here. We gotta switch you back over to Workhorse, like you said yesterday. It's starting to look pretty good, but FUV does look good, Sean. It looks pretty good. I think it could end up filling this gap here on the daily. It looks pretty good, and it is a really low price stock, so the upwards reward could be pretty good even if you grab shares and we head up towards highs of just a few weeks ago. I mean, you're talking about a possible nice 37% rise just on the shares alone. So that's pretty good. But yeah, that's funny, Mike. Workhorse and Donkey Horse, I love to hear it. And hopefully Workhorse keeps going up, Mike. It's holding $10 pretty well today. And Workhorse itself is looking pretty good on the intraday.
There we go. And then we have Freddie saying Whelp Spy. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's up a little bit right now, but not much. Lots of, I guess you could say a decent amount of sellers coming in at open, trying to hold that 452 level. And then Sean said, agreed on Wall Street bets movement. Clove and AMC are almost inverse. Yeah, I saw that. And then Nick said, what if I told you that you should be buying a BIG instead of BBIG right now? What if I told you that BIG would be big and BBIG would not be so big in the future? How would you feel? BIG for president. Well, Tom, what are you thinking about BIG?
I don't know. I mean, I like big lots, I guess. I don't know what to think. This recovery was so good, though, I'll be honest. Like, look at this. Before COVID, big lots sucked. And then after COVID, I don't know, big lots turned into a true retail company, I guess. I don't know, but they've definitely been falling off, though, the past week or two. I don't know. It looks pretty good maybe to buy up some shares if they come down to this $40 support. I don't think it looks too bad, Mike. The recovery has been great. But the thing that worries me is pre-COVID, they were really falling off the table even before COVID happened. So I don't know if this recovery is just because of everyone flocking into online sales or what, but hopefully fundamentally they can kind of turn that around from those pre-COVID levels, because if they start falling down like that again, that would definitely not be good for any shareholder.
Alrighty, and then Disney's looking pretty good. They're trending up there, slow and steady.
Yeah, they are actually. Now, this is one I'd rather buy over both of those stocks we just talked about. But Disney looks really good to me for the long term. I love the way it's turning up right now. Disney Plus should do pretty good too. And overall, though, Disney's stock has done very well here, Mike, ever since it broke 180. And the movement up is just really exponential right now. It's actually, I know that it's one of our favorite stocks, and we're pretty biased towards them, but man, it was in this bottom range here ever since like the middle of May. So I know that we've been eyeing them up around like the 170 to 175 area for quite a while now, Mike. And I know you've been selling tons of puts on them, and I'm glad to see it going up because we've been waiting for it, and it's actually moving pretty well for us now. And it's tested this resistance at like 185 two other times. So maybe we'll get a break now on the third test.
We shall see. So donkey horse is now workhorse. So love to see that. We broke that $10 level. I bet Sean's happy. And it's looking good.
Yeah, I hope it keeps going up for you, Sean. And workhorse should be pretty good to buy down here on the daily at these levels. Like anywhere around $10 should be pretty decent for the next couple of years, I think. And I've heard decent stuff with workhorse, and sometimes you'll see this stuff where workhorse fell down to support around 1350, but then they just kept going lower a couple months later. And I've seen this happen tons of times before. And I don't know if it's just people, I don't know if it's people getting shaken out or what it is, but it just seems like normally the market likes to break that support, shake people out, then start to go up. So I could see it going up now that we've been down here for 3 to 6 months, because sometimes people just buy in a little early and then they have to wait a long time. And I'm glad that we're on like the end of the downwards trend here so that we can kind of get in now as it starts to fly back up, and we don't have to wait through all this action, I should say.
And I'm also like eyeing up Lemonade, LMND, maybe for like a long-term play.
Yeah, LMND should be pretty good. I don't know what they do fundamentally, but the setup's really good. I know they've been talked about a lot. And the support down there by $60 is awesome. There's another support up there by 65, which we hit off of a couple days ago. But I really like LMND. There is support coming up, though, around 80, which I think that we could easily break it, though, to the upside. But just be a little careful of that support. That resistance. Sorry.
Yep, no problem. So they are an insurance company, and I just they're at a pretty good level right now. So I think they look good. And then how is BBIG looking?
Yeah, it came back from that haul, ended up going straight to the downside. It looks like we came all the way down to 950. Unfortunately, it is moving down now. So watch for just more downwards movement. We could end up going up, though, if we hit a good support or something and we see more momentum come in. But overall, the move does seem to be down over the next few minutes. The IV tanked off too. The IV, Mike, just fell from, it was right around 306%, fell all the way down to 273%. So that was a pretty big drop just right after the halt.
True that. And then we need some levels on Fastly.
FSLY, it's been a long time since anyone asked about Fastly.
I know.
Let's check it out. It's starting to really move, but yeah, it's been a long time, and wow, it's all the way down there by that 40 support. I'll be honest, Mike, I kind of like it. It's not my favorite setup in the world. I think that there is better ones, but those earnings went pretty well, turned them around pretty good, and it's moving pretty good off that 40 support, and it's turning itself back up. I think it might be a pretty good buy right now. I think the timing's pretty good.
All right, and then we have G saying thoughts on DRI and other food services. So, on a technical standpoint, they look good. They're trending up very well. They're breaking all-time highs. IV is relatively low, so it looks good. There's not really any major worries with it right now. On a technical basis, like I said, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. I even went to Wendy's chart, and Wendy's looks pretty good even on technicals. They're moving pretty good off the 2250 support, and just the whole restaurant industry in general is looking good. Mike, what was the ticker for that one again for Darden?
DRI.
Oh, DRI. Okay. Yeah. It looks pretty good actually on the daily, and they do have earnings coming up, but I'll be honest. They're doing a lot better than I expected. I would not have expected to see restaurants at this type of level right now. So I'm glad to see it. And hopefully this summer did well for them. I could see their earnings ended up doing pretty good last time. So that shows a pretty good recovery was going on.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some of their competitors. You can look at QSR. They're still trending well. It's not as good as DRI, but then also QSR is a Canadian stock, so that's just another thing to keep in mind. I'm just looking at like a bunch of their technicals or a bunch of their competitors right now, and of course we got like McDonald's, Starbucks, CMG, YUMC, stuff like that, YUM. So yeah, I mean overall DRI is doing pretty well, so it looks good. And then let's go back to the stream. We have W asking about Tesla. What do you think?
Tesla, I mean, let's check it out. Earlier it was doing really good. To right now, it looks like it's just slowing down a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of red come in, but overall it was moving pretty good just a couple minutes ago, up to 741.99, up to 742. So I do like the movement out of Tesla, and it broke that high of 740 from yesterday. And I would think that we could get more movement than this over the next, 5 minutes to an hour, I think. But it just started breaking out, so I would think that we'd get another move here soon. But sometimes we see a fake out, so just be a little careful with it. But I think the setup looks pretty good.
All right, and we have Alex saying, any good support for BBIG for the rest of the day? So, in my opinion, $8 is like the most crucial level, but the stock's at 10, so I think it's unlikely that we'll touch 8. It's possible, but it's $2 away. So 9 looks pretty good too. What are you seeing, Tom?
Yeah, definitely somewhere around 8, I think. I'm not sure if 9 will hold up or not. It could, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with it. At least we're seeing some green come back into it now. Over the past 5 minutes or so, we've seen like about 5 green candles in a row, and it looks like it is getting bought back up a little bit. So maybe the buyers are going to be coming back in and getting it back up there. That would be my main hope, but I'm with you. I see $8 as being more of that main support level.
Alrighty, so Alex also said NEO popped above the $38.30 level Tom mentioned. So, Tom, what is this recovery on NEO?
I don't know what this is, but hey, I will take it.
Yeah.
That was a terrible pre-market. Like, man, NEO came all the way down to 37. Now we're back up to 39. Like, these are huge moves. Like, NEO doesn't usually swing 2 points like this just out of nowhere. So I know that news was terrible in pre-market, but hey, I'm glad to see the recovery happen, and I'm glad that the buyers are coming back. I don't know if Kathy bought this up or what happened, but I'm glad to see it going up either way.
Yeah, I mean, even for a swing, it still looks pretty good. I mean, on the daily, it looks like we didn't even have a horrible gap down.
Yeah, the daily doesn't seem to be even unchanged at all, and we're sitting still at around like that 37 support, so it's not looking bad at all, really. And even if we look at it on like a 90-day, 15-minute chart, even with the gap down today, I know that it was scary to see, but we're still not even below the lows of Monday. So it's not like we fell that much comparative to, where we are in the daily movement. But I'm with you. It still looks pretty solid, and it could definitely still break $40 possibly today, or I would say it has more of a chance to do it tomorrow now since it had that gap down. But I think there's definitely still a good chance to recover and even go back up over the next few days.
Good stuff. And then we have Vicky saying manufacturing index above target, $59.9 versus 58.6. So good stuff. The market seems to be up a little bit. And then Vicky also is asking about Roku, and she read my mind. I was just about to bring that up. So Tom, let's get some levels on it.
Yeah, Roku, it actually is a pretty big support that I'm seeing down here now that we broke the resistance at 360. I'm seeing that should be a pretty good level to hold up for today. Unfortunately, we are about to hit the 1,000 SMA on the 15-minute chart, and we have not hit that since all the way on August 3rd of this year. So watch out for that. And the last time we hit it, it sent the stock straight down. So be a little careful. We're getting close to that, and that it will also be right by that 368 resistance. So watch out. We're getting really close, but I like Roku, Vicky, but watch out for the 360 intraday support and then the 368 top. But Mike, I just checked out some bank stocks a minute ago, and what is going on in the banking industry right now? They are really selling off here on the intraday charts and on the daily charts. Bank of America, JP Morgan, WFC looks the worst. I mean, man, Wells Fargo has had 2 of the worst days I've almost ever seen them had.
I was just going to say that. You think Bank of America and JP Morgan's bad? Look at Wells Fargo. That is brutal. So
yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the news right now. It looks like they Let's see. So it looks like they actually had a price target raised today in the
Well, that makes sense.
okay. So their price target was raised, but I know that they had had like a risk of like regulatory action come out yesterday. So it appears to just be a continued sell-off from that. So that's what it looks like right now. That's the only major news I'm seeing. But
That's so funny that Deutsche Bank adjusts them up.
yeah,
That's so funny that they did that.
gosh. Then we have Elijah saying Twitter daily chart looks nice. I agree. It does look pretty good. It's sitting at a pretty big support right now. I mean, pretty big level, I should say, right at 65. So not bad at all. And I was also looking at Pinterest. I think this one looks like it's at a pretty big level right at 55.
Yeah, I like both of them, to be honest. Pinterest, wow. Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. Pinterest looks really good, I think, for a pickup of. You could even average into shares right now, or leaps, I think, could be good. There's multiple different ways you could go. The IV is even super low. So if we start to see a good pop, if that IV gets back up to 100% or even 78 or 80%, man, we'll see a huge rise out of these calls. And I'll be honest, Pinterest really looks like it'll come up and touch 60 over the next few days. But over the next few months, I could really see it filling this gap and getting back up there. That's a pretty good gap that we have to fill.
Good stuff. And then how is JMIA looking?
Been a long time since we talked about these guys too, but they're like the Amazon of Africa. Actually moved perfectly off their bottom support around 18, you could say like 17.80 to $18, but honestly $20 looks pretty good too. And we have a nice green candle today, up 9%. I think the recovery looks like we might start to get one over the next few months. And, that move to the upside with JMIA, the initial one at the beginning of the year was so strong. I remember everyone was loving JMIA. And then, of course, it seemed like all stocks had a downtrend like this. We saw CHPT, we saw BLNK, we saw Palantir, we saw Zoom, Peloton. Everything just about fell. Enphase even, it was up like JMIA was. And I think now we'll start to see investors kind of get back into these stocks, especially with the SPY and like Apple and Microsoft being at all-time highs. Like, I think of some of these big investors are going to start looking at things like JMIA and thinking, wow, like if Apple falls 30%, why not just throw some money into JMIA and let it go up?
Yeah, exactly. And like even a lot of other stocks, like DraftKings a couple weeks ago, PENN, RCL. I mean, you could say they had about a bunch of stocks, LMND, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And speaking of DraftKings, they actually they're holding their ground so well, and like if you look intraday, like it keeps trying to break 60, but it's been struggling a little bit.
Yeah, definitely struggling there, but I'm with you. It's kind of over the past few minutes came back up, and it's at the higher points that it's been at so far today. So hopefully it can kind of hold its ground up here and not start to fall back down. And if we can just stay above 60, it would be pretty good, I think, for DraftKings, especially on an intraday level. $60 has been one of the best levels to look for. And wow, look at this on DraftKings. Actually, it's actually, I think, in like a pretty good like wedge pattern here. And I think that we might get a solid breakout to the upside. It definitely seems more of like a bullish flag setup to me.
Good stuff. And then we have Elijah saying, it seems like growth/spec stocks are all reversing to the upside. Yeah, I mean, 100%, and I think it's about time because these like large cap stocks have just been at crazy levels for a while now.
Yeah, they have. And like BLNK is doing great today. CHPT, great day. And all these stocks are right at support. So like if I was like let's just say this, like if I started a fund today and let's say I was Kathy Wood and I just started out and I had to pick some stocks, people would probably think I was crazy because my portfolio would have all these growth stocks in it. I'd be making like the ARK Innovation ETF over again pretty much.
Yeah, I feel you. And they're at good levels, I mean, yes, they're risky, but when you can get them at these good levels, a lot of time it's a pretty good decision. So
yeah, and even ARKK is not bad, Mike. Like this is a pretty good ETF that's filled of a bunch of stocks that are a bunch of these different growth stocks.
And Vicky again hit the like button. So yeah, guys, hitting that like button really, really helps us out, and we would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the stream. If you hit the like button. But looking at the scanners right now, you brought up ARKK, and Tesla is actually doing all right today. They're up like 0.5%, and they're doing decent.
Yeah, they are. They're doing really good, and it's a pretty decent move here, even on like the intraday chart. They are getting up to like that pre-market high of a couple days ago of like 124. But I'll be honest, like shares of ARKK, like they're still at a pretty good level right now. They're like in the middle of the range. They're nowhere near the high, and if we did get a move back up to highs, I mean, it's a nice like 28 to 30% pop there.
Yeah, so Tesla has a big influence on ARKK, but like what levels are you watching for Tesla?
Oh, for Tesla, let's see. TSLA. I mean, my favorite level to look for intraday up here is going to be 740 probably. Or yeah, 740 is an upper resistance. We did run up to 742, but yesterday we hit right at 740 and fell. And now we're going back down again today. Lower level, I would say 730 is a great support. We hit off of it definitely pretty defiantly over the past couple of days, about 3 or 4 times. So 730 and then 740 to the upside. But unfortunately, that movement that we had all morning that was fantastic has kind of gone away, and we are seeing a little bit of a pullback now. So it's not as hot as it was earlier. Definitely watch for that bounce at 730 and then maybe 735 before it.
Good stuff. And then it looks like we have G saying FCUV is halted. So I was just looking at this one. FCUV, it does appear to be halted. It's up like 41%, and it has some pretty good relative volume.
Yeah, FUV has been
No, Tom,
pretty...
FCUV.
Oh, okay, FCUV. Sorry, I thought you said FUV, but yeah, FCUV not bad. That's a pretty big run, Mike. 41%. Like, what's going on? Like, what kind of stock is this? I don't know anything about them. Never heard about FCUV, but looks like a pretty good intraday move though, Mike.
All right, so we had Neo with the horrible gap down. We had LCID with the horrible gap down, but Neo's having a great recovery, but so is LCID. I feel like less people are talking about this one, but it's recovering very well. This IV is sky high, though.
Yeah, it really is sky high, and the thing is that with NIO, right?
No, with LCID.
Oh, okay. I thought we were still on NIO. I think I'm lagging or something, Mike. If my internet starts cutting out or something, definitely let me know because something's definitely going on. But definitely look at LCID. That's wow. What a bad move today in pre-market, Mike. Like what happened to them?
Well, they had their share lockup expire, so a lot of big money people were able to sell their shares, and
really, like the insiders and stuff, right?
Yeah, so it really just caused a panic. But I think people are realizing that, like, the stock shouldn't have been down 17% this morning, and people are buying the dip, and I think it's just really a good opportunity for some short puts.
Yeah, I think so too. And even if you get assigned shares at like $15 or something, that's a pretty good level to own LCID at. And for the longer term, like Lucid should go up. Like we're hoping that they take off as a good EV company. So it's hard to say. They're still in the beginning stages, but I think it's a good time to buy shares too. And as far as averaging in, I think it's an awesome time to start.
All right, and then AJ said, wow, Mike, Redfin today, I just saw that. It's having a great recovery, up 4%. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. Mike, you there?
Yes, RDFN.
Okay, sorry. This is really cutting out bad. But yeah, RDFN, yeah, it looks pretty solid, Mike. And this recovery up today, up 4.3% is not bad at all, really. And the main thing to look for is, I would say, this resistance at like 51.
Alrighty. Yeah, I think it looks good. I like it for the long term. Solid stock, in my opinion. Also good for some short puts. DraftKings appears to be running up a little bit. They're up at, they're up like 1.5%. They're holding their levels right now, and hopefully we see a nice break above $60.50. That should be an awesome move. And then we have Rick saying Workhorse is moving. I saw that. They're up 5% now. Look at this movement.
Yeah, Workhorse is doing so good, Mike. We've been looking at it off these supports for the past few days, and they've been moving so good. Look at the max daily. I mean, this $10 support should hold up pretty good today. We passed that level earlier this morning, and ever since we did, it's just been straight up, and Workhorse is looking pretty good. I should say Donkey Horse. That's right. Yeah, it's looking solid though. I mean, I think right now for shares, if you missed the opportunity on CHPT, Workhorse, and some of the others, I feel like you'll be pretty upset with yourself over the next few months.
Yep. I mean, they are risky. Don't get us wrong, but the risk reward setup's pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, it looks like those are the main movers right now, besides some of the China stocks. But looks like we're in for a great day, Tom. Do you have like any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have been watching a ton of different stocks this morning, like BABA, Enphase, CHPT. They've all been really popping up this morning very well. BABA's actually up another 4.46%. They've actually continued their momentum all morning and they haven't really slowed down, which is awesome. And I'm guessing some big players are really hopping into BABA down here. And it's just been over the past few days, just gap ups every single time. So really watching the China stock still. And my favorite ones right now are CHPT, BLNK, and those types of stocks. I know CHPT has earnings, and I never advocate buying stuff before earnings, but if I was ever going to, I think CHPT would be the only one I would get shares right before the earnings tomorrow, just because we're right at support. But BLNK and some of the others are also pretty good down here too. Blink is right at that 30 support also. So good. There's a lot of opportunities right now in the market, and there's lots of catalysts that could affect it, but in the end, some of these stocks, like some of these lower price growth stocks that have been getting beaten down, are definitely looking good off supports. And I feel like a lot of big players are going to be buying them up.
Yep, and with the last question, we have Elijah saying thoughts on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. So we don't really trade Bitcoin too much for the short term. We like it for the long term, and I also like Ethereum for the long term. But Mara and Riot are doing very well, and I just think that Bitcoin and Ethereum and other quality cryptos will be good for the long term. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining today. We had a great stream, and we really appreciate all you guys joining the stream. So thank you so much, and have an amazing rest of your day.